Hello people who cannot sit at home, thank you so much for joining me. So in this video I have collected, in my opinion, the coolest small towns in Ontario. So what classifies them as the coolest? And in my opinion it's a town that has some kind of unique experience, or maybe the town is known for some kind of cool thing. Like for example, Bancroft is known for their rock hounding and Port Colborne is known for their ships passing. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And yes, the first trip that I want to talk to you about that I think is amazingly cool is Port Colborne. So over here I'm showing you where it is. It's kind of more south of Niagara Falls. So when we were there in the summer, but as I understand, as long as there's no ice, as long as the water is flowing, you can go there for spring and the fall times. It should not be an issue. And the ships are always passing by, so it's pretty much great for most of the seasons other than winter. I would probably not go in the winter. So the town of Port Colborne is nice. It has a lot of cute little stores. On Sunday, a lot of them were closed, unfortunately, but the Canal Lakeside Restaurant was open, and that is sort of their highlight. It is very cute. It is a restaurant. And what you get to do is, of course, it's a restaurant, so you get to sit down, but you can sit down either inside the restaurant or there is a number of tables across from the road. And at first we were not sure why they were kind of separate from the restaurant, but then we quickly realized that the reason that they're there is just you get to sit down and then you see the bridge lift up, and it's kind of beautiful vintagey bridge, and it lifts up, and in the very far away over there you can see a ship coming towards. So very cool thing to do. The ship is fairly slow, so you get to kind of relax, order your food. We ordered the food, and by the time the food arrived, the ship was sort of already in the place. But it's just a cool way to kind of relax, spend the day. If the weather is great like it was over here, it was just so much fun. And there were people around us also in the restaurant. Everybody was talking, everybody was chatting. The food was excellent. I got a burger, my mom had fish and chips. Highly recommend both of those dishes. It was really, really yummy. And another thing I know about this town is that I think in August, they have a festival where there's even more kind of music happening and more ships going by. So definitely, if you can go there in August, do your research and definitely go there at that time. When we were sitting down, we were asking locals, when exactly do the ships go? They said that the ships kind of appear fairly randomly. There's no set schedule. But it seems like on the weekend you're almost guaranteed, if you're in there in the middle of the day, you're guaranteed to see some cool ships passing you by. This ship specifically was with the propellers. I think it's the windmills, those beautiful white ones. It was so cool to see. I've never seen those propellers be transformed, especially on a ship such as this size. And there was like a little boat over there kind of helping to guide it. Very cool experience. And of course you can stay over in this town if you would like to. This restaurant, the Canalside Restaurant, also offers rooms for stay. So another really cool town is Southampton, Ontario. I would say it's about good 2.5 3 hour drive. It's a very adorable town. If you have never been, you have to go. This is of course the shore of Lake Huron, so beautiful water. The town is adorable. There's a number of stores. When we arrived to the town, we checked out Armen's cafe, which is an excellent cafe. I really was not able to pinpoint what kind of cuisine they serve. It seems that it's sort of Indian, maybe Tibetan, or I actually asked them, they said it's fusion. Anyway, the food was exceptional. Make sure to go to that cafe. And then we headed to the shore to check out the water, but also to do our exciting experience. And this is what, in my opinion, makes Southampton a very cool city to check out. So what they have is Chantry Island tours. And Chantry Island is an island that's very close to Southampton. What you do is you do need to pre-book, and it was a fairly low, I think it was $20 per person or something along those lines. They put you in boats and they take you to this very cool island. On the way there, volunteers who run this tell you all about the history and how this island came to be. It's fascinating history. There was the main really reason, as I understand, for this island's inhabitants is the lighthouse, because there was a family, the lighthouse keeper, that used to work there to make sure that the lighthouse functioned, and you get to climb up the lighthouse. I've never climbed the lighthouse. It was an amazing experience. You have to do this. I was blown away. The view of it and the architecture of it is very unique. The top part was actually done, as I understand, in Paris, France, but the bottom was, of course, done here in Canada. But because the top part is so intricate, at that time, the Canadians didn't have the ability to do such intricate kind of work, and hence. Then you also get a tour of the Lighthouse Keeper, which was so fascinating. It's actually a recreation, but it is done in such a meticulous way that it was worth, absolutely, totally worth going all the way to Southampton and checking it out. I highly recommend it. And of course, I'm going to link down below the website where you can book this tour. The next really cool town is Haliburton. So it's also about 2.5 hours, 3 hours from Toronto. It is over here. I'm showing you where it's located. There are a number of really cool experiences. One of my favorite ones is the sculpture garden. Completely free. You get to park and you get to explore it. Not only is it cool because there's about 20 to 30 different sculptures, and they sometimes add new sculptures, especially during the summertime. Over here, there's also access to this gorgeous dock. I love just going here, chilling by the water, and you get this gorgeous view of the lake. This definitely is making me miss summer, as right now it is March. So let's go back into the forest. This sculpture slash kind of installation piece was done for the summertime, as I understand. It was sort of like mushrooms growing on trees. I thought this was really cool. But they also have the stationary metalwork and stonework and woodwork sculptures. Here's a gorgeous bird. This dandelion is adorable, and I love how together with the trees it just creates such a cool juxtaposition that I want to paint it. And right next to the sculpture garden there is the Fleming College Haliburton campus, where you can go in and get to see some of their amazing creations as well. Another thing I absolutely love about Haliburton is Castle Antiques and Cafe. Never have I been to a cafe that is yummy, has place to sit, yet it's a full-on antique store. You can easily spend an hour here, if not more, just going through all of the vintage things. And all of the items are so fascinating, very interesting to just check it out, explore. And here's the food that they serve, lots of yummy baked goods, and they also, I think, have nourishing bowls, so not just sweets. Amazing cafe, I highly recommend. And one more thing about Haliburton, so there are like 3 things that I love about Haliburton, is the Haliburton Forest Wolf Center. When we were there, we did pre-book, and the entry was at that point $14. And it was quite the experience. You get to see the wolves. They do not really see you. I mean, I guess they can smell you, but you're behind the glass and you kind of see them in their natural habitat. There's also a movie theater that you can learn about wolves. Very, very cool experience. Highly recommend Haliburton. Up next, we have Elora. So the cool thing about Elora is that it's a town that has the cuteness of a smaller city, yet it has a place where you can hike and go into their Elora Gorge. So over here I'm going to show you us going into the park, and along kind of the railing we get to see, there's a viewpoint, and you get to see over here like a frozen waterfall, and you get to see the gorge. So this is not the part where you can hike. This is, you know, pretty fast river. But if you look at the map, that is in the beginning of the hike, and you go slightly away from the viewpoint, you will see that there are stairs that take you downstairs, and that's when you can do a bit of a hiking. At the bottom of the gorge there is a bit of a river, but it's not very fast, so it's a beautiful place. And here is us exploring the town. There's a beautiful Elora Mill spa. This gorgeous mural that is reminiscent of Gustav Klimt's artwork, and I love how they have different elements glued onto it, made out of, I'm guessing, brass. Just really, really pretty. Over here is the bridge, fairly new. I think this is only a couple of years old, and you get to see the river. And over here are different shops that you can check out. In the summertime, of course, there are a number of ice cream shops. There is a beautiful cafe called Wild Tart Cafe. That's also close by. Highly recommend that. And another thing that's very unique about Elora is that in the Halloween time, in the fall time, the city is overtaken by the white creatures that are sort of like sculptures by one of the artists in the city, and it is fascinating. So I highly recommend you check out Elora. And St. Thomas is a Mennonite town, and it's very close by, and you often get to see carriages of Mennonite carriages kind of driving by. So the next cool town is Huntsville. So this town is situated in Muskoka, which is, of course, the prime location, especially in the summertime, to be closer to the water. There are a number of restaurants that are closer to the water, and you can just walk around, soaking up the sun. We love the Affogato Cafe, where you can get your ice cream and you get a shot of espresso in there, and it's just so good. Unique thing about this town is that they have a number of murals dedicated to Group of Seven, because of course Group of Seven was painting very close to over here, specifically in Algonquin Parks. They even over here have the sculpture dedicated to Tom Thomson, who was one of the leaders of Group of Seven, who unfortunately also died in Algonquin Park. So for me personally, there are two things that I absolutely love Huntsville for. Number one, lupins. So lupins are these cool flowers. In about mid to end of June, the whole town is filled with lupins. If you drive around, they are all over there. Really, the whole city has lupins, but Forbes Drive, specifically over here, there are fields and fields. So I love driving by and just looking at those gorgeous flowers. And here's, by the way, is the Lions Lookout. Beautiful lookout. Definitely check it out when Haliburton. It has a beautiful viewpoint of the whole city. And another amazing thing that I've done just last summer in this area was Muskoka Goat Away, which is essentially where you take the goat for a walk. It's hilarious. The lady who does these events is so nice. The whole event takes about an hour, and it costs, I think, from about $20 to $30. And I'm of course going to put down the link to this experience in the description below. The next city, I cannot call it really the tiny town, is Peterborough, because Peterborough, in my opinion, is very unique and you have to check it out. One of the main highlights for me for Peterborough is the Trent-Severn Waterway, Lock 21. It is essentially a lift lock that is, as I understand, the last one of its kind. It fills up the water on one side and goes all the way up while the boat is inside. It's absolutely ridiculous. When I saw this the first time, I think I spent easy 3 hours here just going and checking out how they load the boats, how they load, go all the way up, and then you can also walk around under the lock, and you can also go upstairs to check out how the ships go on top. Fascinating. You can actually get a boat that will take you on that lock, like that will go through this lock, and you get to experience it while being in the boat. Something I have not done yet, but I am for sure gonna try to do, hopefully this summer. I'm gonna link, of course, down below this boat experience for you to check out. Another thing that's cool about this lock is that when you do go under it, you get to see it even closer. So over here is a tunnel. It is separated from the road, but of course be careful, but there is a barrier so that it's nice and safe. And you have these little tunnels that you get to just check out and look at the boats and the lock a bit closer. Another thing that's amazing about Peterborough is Nostalgic Journey. This is an antique store. It will again take you good 2 to 3 hours to just go through everything. Very beautiful antiques. And while there in Peterborough, you have to check out Kawartha Butter Tarts. Excellent butter tarts. And so up next we have a very exciting town, that is Grimsby. So it is located sort of south of Toronto, closer, somewhat in the direction of Niagara on the lake. And the very unique thing about this town is it has these really gorgeously painted houses. They are called Painted Ladies of Grimsby. Over here I created a map that outlines all of the really beautiful houses, and you can definitely take a screenshot or a photo of this and use it as your map. But I usually start where the Auditorium Crescent is, over there, the loop, and we start from there and we try to park the car in the heart of Grimsby Park. There's a parking spot there, and then you can go and walk around. I think all in all, exploring this area for the first time, you would need probably an hour, maybe a little bit more. These are gorgeous houses. Definitely best if the weather is nice, because it's just that much more beautiful. I have been there so many times that I've actually talked to some of the owners of the houses, and they're all very lovely people, very proud of their homes. A lot of times they know the history of the home, and they try to preserve it, of course, because it does take upkeep, and they paint. And there's, as I understand, a gentleman in the town that specializes in these kind of ornate wooden cuttings. That is part of the look. There are lots of cute little things about this town. Even this book library is adorable with pots and plates. And even though, of course, all of the houses do have somewhat of a similar kind of like theme and style, they're all very different. Over here, we're walking through the Auditorium Crescent. This is the one that I suggest you can just drive through, but if you already parked, you can definitely walk through it. This, in my opinion, these are like the most amount of houses altogether. So if there's anything to select from this town, it just go to this loop and just enjoy a walkthrough. Of course, be respectful with to the people who do live, because these are livable houses. People do live in here. But as I mentioned, there have been so many times where we would just chat with people who own these houses because they're very proud of them. I love this Banksy tribute. And there's also almost like a bar with stools. I don't think this is usable. I think this is more of a prop, but it's very cool. And another thing I adore about this town is that there's so much vegetation. There are these huge hydrangeas, there's lots of flowers. Again, people who own these houses really take a lot of pride in them and in the vegetation around them. Highly recommended. This is going to put you in such good spirits. It's an amazing, beautiful place. The next cool little town is Niagara-on-the-Lake, or NOTL. I think I'm the only one who calls it that, but it's just easier to say. So it is a beautiful, beautiful little town. Again, there's so much pride of this town that goes into vegetation and flowers and preserving all of the beauty that is Niagara-on-the-Lake. This restaurant is kind of like the highlight, or at least one of the staple pieces, and I've actually been inside of it. It's a great restaurant. I do recommend it. But anywhere along the main street of Niagara-on-the-Lake is gorgeous, lots of shops. There's, of course, different kind of souvenir shops. There's the snacky shops. Of course, a lot of tourists come in to Niagara-on-the-Lake from the States or from Toronto, so there's a lot of Canadian merchandise. Prince of Wales Hotel is a great hotel. They actually do also afternoon tea that I've tried. It was amazing. You can also stay in there. I've also stayed in there. It was a beautiful stay. One of the more unique things about Niagara-on-the-Lake is that they have these carriages where you can go in and enjoy a beautiful ride along the town. And yet another unique thing about Niagara-on-the-Lake is that you can pretty much see the United States. This is where you go to the shore. This is the Canadian side, but right over there, that's the United States. So let's just wave to our American friends. And the beach is also beautiful. You can have picnics in this area if you bring food. And actually very close to here, there is also a Niagara-on-the-Lake Golf Club. They have an amazing restaurant. Definitely a great spot if you would like to have some food. So the next cool little town is Bancroft. It is an absolutely amazing town. It is about 2.5 to 3 hours north of Toronto. What Bancroft is known for are their rocks and rock hounding. So there's a place called Princess Sodalite Mine, and over here I'm showing you the area where they sell some stones and rocks. But behind the shop they have a rock farm. So what is a rock farm? You get to go in, and actually the entry is free, except that you do whatever you take, it's going to be $2 per pound, and you get to choose and select any rocks that you would like. A lot of these rocks are fairly good rocks. Like you can find amethyst, you can find sodalite, which is the blue stone, and other different cool looking rocks. And another highlight is that you can actually crack your rocks. So for the cracking, like the hammers and chisels, you need to bring your own. They do not give it away. They do give you goggles, and they do give you a bucket to put all of your stuff in. But you are required to wear closed-toe shoes so that there are no accidents. And it's also best maybe if you have gloves so that you don't cut yourself. and goggles they provide, but I also take my own because I just like my own goggles. So you can definitely also spend an insane amount at this rock farm. There are no time limits. You can just keep on cracking. I also suggest wearing a hat because it does get pretty hot and there are trees, but you also want to kind of move around. It's tons of fun. You can definitely find some amazing gems. Now, the rock hounding is not going to end for us. There's another spot I want to talk to you about that's in Bancroft. But I also want to talk to you about the Eagle's Nest Lookout that's in Bancroft. It is gorgeous. You have to go. If you're in Bancroft, you have to check it out. So another spot for rocks is called Sea and Rock Pile. It is in Bancroft. If you type it into Google Maps, it will show how to get there. Completely free. This is actually a rock pile that's just for fun. And the rocks in here, they're maybe not as fancy as you would find at the Princess Sodalite mine that we just went to, but these are most of the time mica, which is that white kind of rock with a little bit of black. They're fairly shiny, they're really pretty. You can definitely crack them. At this rock pile, I have also found Sodalite, which is the blue rock. So you definitely can find certain other rocks here, but they are definitely more of the similar types. Also, of course, have your goggles, have your closed-toe shoes, have your chisels, and kind of go crazy and try to find something beautiful. Over here is nice and shiny mica. I thought this was so cool. And if you get hungry after all of the rock hounding, you can go for the Halibut fish and chips. It's an amazing place, really good food and absolutely amazing view onto the river. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Over here somewhere, I am going to leave a couple of more videos about my underrated road trips around Ontario that I think are just as good. And of course, please subscribe, like, and share if you enjoy my videos. Thank you so much. Bye.